what an honor, what a privilege to be able to say, I have existed on this earth for 35 years. I always feel like when you turn 35, it's like you become officially an adult. When you're 36, 37, 38, 39, you're closer to your 40s. So you're getting more and more and more mature, right? But to me, there's something about 35 that it's like, okay, boom, you're an adult now. Welcome to Blisstopia podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Castellani, life purpose coach, business owner, and your spiritual guide on all things mindset, manifestation, and purpose. This podcast is a space for deep reflections, meaningful conversations to help you expand your mind, dive into the depths of your soul, and create a life that makes you feel alive. Whether you're walking, driving, or simply vibing, take a deep breath and get ready to dive. Hello, my love. Welcome to another episode of Blisstopia podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Castellani. And this week, it's a very special week because we are celebrating my birthday. So last Wednesday, it was my birthday. I turned 35 and I decided to really share my journey, where I am, where I feel like I am in life on this podcast episode. I feel like every time you enter into a new decade, whether that's 30, 40, 50, 60, we always get in a place where we take a lot of perspective on life. We take some distance from our lives and we think, okay, where am I in life? Where did I think I would be by this time and where am I in life? Am I satisfied with what I see or not from this helicopter view? So for me, every time we turn something with a 5, so whether that's 25, 35, 45, 55, of course, it's not as important as changing a decade, but I do feel like those numbers in the middle with a 5 are also important and we do take some perspective. At least for me, I had a very clear idea of where I wanted to be by 35. And I'm going to share with you what's the balance? What's the status? Are we happy? Are we not happy? What's going on? So first, let me share with you what we're doing in terms of celebration. So on Wednesday, we had a dinner with my partner, just the two of us to have quality time. He's also a Libra, and we didn't celebrate his birthday because he was on a business trip, and then he stayed with some friends in Barcelona surfing. So we didn't really celebrate his birthday on the 10th of October. So it was dinner, just the two of us, but it was also celebrating both birthdays at the same time. So like his birthday, my birthday, both at the same time. And then tomorrow, Saturday, 25, we are actually inviting some friends over to our place. We're going to be celebrating a bunch of things. So it's basically, we're celebrating my birthday, we're celebrating his birthday, we're celebrating that we are finally settled in the new apartment since I think 3 months ago, but we didn't have time or energy to do something that people do in France, which is a crémaillère. So basically every time you move into a new flat or a new house, it's kind of like a house warming party. So we didn't do that yet. So we're doing that. And then we're going to celebrate the engagement as well. So we have a lot of reasons to celebrate my birthday, his birthday. We moved to a new flat and then the engagement. So lots of celebrations. And we just decided to do one thing and celebrate with all of our friends or family who live in Paris and just do like one big thing for everybody. So yeah, basically this year, I'm actually turning 35, which is crazy. I think when I was in my 20s and I used to think about 35, it felt so far away, first of all. And then it felt like I always had the impression, I don't know if you had this impression, but I had this impression when I was in my 20s that people in their 30s would be like such grown-ups, and they would have like their whole life figured out. And then you turn 30 and you turn 35 and it's like, it's not exactly that. So yeah, your girl is turning 35. To be completely transparent with you, I have always said, when I was in my 20s, I have always said, I will never be changing my age. I will never be kind of like hiding my age or changing my age. I know many women, at least back in the times, and also some women nowadays are kind of like changing their age and they're afraid to age. And I just think, first of all, what an honor, what a privilege to be able to say, I have existed on this earth for 35 years. So many things could have gone wrong, from the fact that my parents, they could have so many different children with so many different combinations of, you know, DNA. And I was the one that incarnated on earth. And then I survived the pregnancy, and then I was born, and then I've always been extremely healthy. I have very strong health. And then here we are, so many things could have happened, an accident, something, whatever. And here we are, 35 years on earth and counting. I cannot wait for many, 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 many more years. So my relationship to age is actually extremely positive. I see it as a sign of, wow, how lucky you are to be able to say that you've been 35 years on earth, or that you've been for 50 years on earth, or that you've been on earth for 80 years or 110 years, and you've seen so many things. I mean, you've experienced so many things, and you've seen so many changes in society, in technology, and you've just lived so much. So my relationship to age is extremely, extremely positive. And again, when I was in my 20s, I used to say, I will never hide my age, or I will never change my age. I think all of that is stupid. And of course, it's really easy to say that when you're in your 20s. Now, when you start approaches like, your early 30s, 35, and from now on, this is the time when I need to start keeping that promise and be as positive as I have always been to age. So 35 years of experiences, 35 years of fun, extreme fun, 35 years of travel, 35 years of love, 35 years of heartbreak, 35 years of all different kinds of pain, so many years, 35 years of wisdom, 35 years of spiritual growth, 35 years of impact around me, on my people first, on my clients, on my community, in these most recent years, now that I've found my purpose. So I am extremely grateful for these 35 years of existence. I'm extremely grateful to my parents, my grandparents, my great grandparents that allowed me to exist. Yeah, basically 35 tours around the sun. And to me, 35, it's kind of like a special age. I'm going to share with you why and how. I always feel like when you turn 35, it's like you become officially an adult. And let me explain why I'm saying this. So when you turn 30, right? You turn 30, 31, 32, 34, but you're still closer to the 20s, right? When you turn 35, it's like, okay, like now I'm a proper adult, and I'm between 20 and 40, like literally in the middle between being young in your 20s and being mature in your 40s. So I'm literally there, literally becoming officially an adult. Until next week, I was not an adult. Like now, I feel like I'm an adult. And then when you're 36, 37, 38, 39, you're closer to your 40s. So you're getting more and more and more mature, right? But to me, there's something about 35 that it's like, okay, boom, you're an adult now. So let me share with you. I went back, found my diary. I'm going to show you my diary. Hold on a second. I've had this little diary. If you're looking at this on Spotify with video or on YouTube, you can see. If you're listening on the audio, just go ahead, switch to video for 1 sec. You can see the diary, and then you can come back to audio. So if you're on Spotify, you can switch to video and then come back. If you're on Apple Podcasts, you only have audio. You would have to go to like YouTube or Spotify to check the diary. But basically, I have this little pink diary that I have had since I was 18 years old. And I went to the US. And back in those days, it was like my pink era. And basically literally everything that I owned was pink. I was 16. So, and basically I got this little diary, and then I was just a teenager, right? But I was still always inclined to this idea of I would write every year what I wanted for the next year, which were like my main dreams, goals for the next year. And that has really guided my life. I was always like setting intentions, dreams, you could call it. I didn't know about manifestation back then, but I was always setting my intentions, and then I would kind of like write it in Jan, track where I was in June, and then in December, write, okay, what happened? Did it work? Did it not work? And then write for the next year. So basically, in this little diary that I have right here with me, I wrote when I was 28, I wrote my vision for my 30s and my vision for my 35 when I would be 35. So where I wanted to be in my 30s and where I wanted to be when I would turn 35. So I'm going to share with you what I wrote back then and what's happened right now. So before I came here to record this episode, I've been reading this diary, and it's so cute to see the things that were a goal at some point, were a dream at some point, and now they're most of them a reality. Not all of them, but most of them, I would say 80 or 90%, most of them are a reality right now. Some of those dreams also evolved, and then I decided to focus my energy on something else. So it makes sense that not all of those dreams were completely realized, but most of them, and especially the most important ones, are completely realized. So let me share with you what I wrote when I was 28 and my vision for the moment I would turn 30. So what I wrote for my 30s was I want a beautiful, stable relationship with a future. I think I spent all of my teenage years and all of my 20s really longing for love and longing for a relationship. And I think that's kind of like the Libra in me. I've always wanted my special person, and there's a red feather falling out of nowhere, which is very weird. So basically, that vision was I want a beautiful, stable relationship with the future. And here we are, 35, definitely to have a stable relationship with the future. I think I wrote this when I was 28, and I wanted to find my person by the time I was 30. That didn't happen that way. I found my person when I was 32, so 2 years later than what I actually would have expected or wanted. But it doesn't matter. 2 years more, 2 years less, it doesn't really matter. I do have absolutely beautiful, stable relationship with a future. So that's really cute to see that was so important for me, really finding my person. And I found my person, and now we are engaged. So it's really nice to see. Things didn't happen exactly as I planned it. They took a little bit more time. I had to learn some things. I had to become a person. He had to become a person. And then when we were both ready for something like this, stable, committed with the future, we met, and here we are. Then the other objective that I had for the time I would turn 30 or for like early 30s was back then when I was 28, I was still in my marketing career. Back then, my goal was to either, listen to this because it's very interesting. My goal was to either grow in marketing and have more responsibility. And I remember writing this, and the way I would see it was I want to have a certain scope. I want to have a team that is clearly like under my responsibility. Like this area of the business is mine, this team is mine. And I could really see it, like visually see it. So I wanted to either grow in my marketing career and have more responsibility, a clear scope that was under my, call it supervision if you want, or I wanted to have a career change. So this is very fun because I was 28 years old when I wrote this. I wasn't that advanced in my career yet, but I was starting to consider the idea of, okay, I either grow, like really grow in marketing, or I'm going to have a career change. What happened later down the line? I did both. So basically, I did grow in my marketing career. As you know, I became a marketing director. So I had a very clear scope. Basically, the whole marketing department was under my supervision. I had a team. So all of the marketing for two wineries were under my responsibility with the people in those teams. So it's really fun because I wanted either this or the other one. And in the end, what happened was I got the first one and now I'm going to get the second one, which I did as well. So really fun. So basically, you know my story. I became a marketing director when I was 32. And then basically after that, I decided, you know what, I actually want way more than this. I want to impact people's lives. I want to really know that what I do on a day-to-day basis makes sense. It's changing the world. It contributes to a better world. So I did what I wanted to do in terms of my career. I got to the point where I wanted to get. I got the responsibility, I got the scope, and then I changed my career. So here we are on the other side of that. And then let me share my vision for my 35s because this is really, really, really fun. So I was 28 and I wrote, by the time I'm 35, I want to be married, which didn't happen, but it's going to happen. I'm engaged. So it's kind of like we're halfway through. I'm on my way to get married, so that's fine. Then I wanted to have 2 children by the time I was 35. That's not, that's not happening. Like I cannot make 2 children in the next year, so that's not happening. But we are well on our way to start a family. So I think by the time my 35s are over, I will most likely have a child. So not 2, but 1. So that's okay. And then this one is really funny. Basically, I wrote again, I was 28. And to me, 35 was like, oh my God, you're going to be such an adult. I don't know. I think in my mind, 35 was kind of like 40. I don't know. I was confused. So basically, I wrote, I want to be still hot. Seems, 35 was like, oh my God, I don't know, like so, I don't know. What was I thinking that I'm not going to be hot when I'm 35? So I am so happy to announce that I am officially still hot. And actually way, way, way more confident than I was when I was 28. When I was 28, I was still like a little bit insecure about my body, still a little bit insecure about my sexuality, exploring my sexuality, but still, kind of like a mini, tiny little bit insecure about my body. Is my body like skinny enough and perfect enough and this enough, blah, blah, blah. And I think when you turn like 30, 35, whatever, it's like your body's not perfect. Like I clearly was slimmer in my 20s and I was a model when I was a teenager, so fine. So of course you gain a little bit of weight, but I still feel, it's not even still, like I feel so fucking hot and way, way, way more confident, even though my body is like less perfect than it was before. My confidence is over the roof. And I have heard from women in their 40s that the same happens. Like maybe the body is a little bit less perfect and everything is like less tight, but the confidence goes up and it kind of like overcompensates and you feel like on the top of the world. So I would trade anytime the relationship I have with my body right now than the relationship I had with my body when I wrote all of these things when I was 28, 25, 28, whatever. So let's summarize the beautiful, stable relationship with the future done. Growing in my marketing career, have a very clear responsibility done, became marketing director. The career change done, married on the way there. So we could say halfway done. And then the 2 children, certainly not going to get 2 children in the next year, but 1 should be okay. So half done. And then still hot, definitely done. So that's basically, if we count, that's basically like, it's 5 out of 6. It's pretty good. pretty good. So on the ones that I'm on the way to, I'm counting like 0.5 instead of 1. So 5 out of 6 big goals that I had for my life, I feel pretty satisfied. And I don't fucking care about the numbers. Like I'm sharing with you what I wrote back then and how things are right now. And this is kind of like the analysis of things. But if you and I, we sit and we have a matcha latte, because I'm going to get a matcha latte for sure. If you and I, we sit on a coffee shop and I get a matcha latte and you get your favorite drink, I would tell you that I am so, so deeply happy with my life right now. And it doesn't have to do with this analysis, but I just feel so happy, so blessed, so fulfilled, so grateful. My health is perfect. I have a fantastic, strong health. I've always had a very strong health. My spiritual life is so rich. I love everything that I've learned, and I love who I became thanks to spirituality. I'm a completely new person, and this is the person that created Blisstopia podcast, and this is the person that created Blisstopia. This is the person that is guiding this movement of making more and more women happier. How can I make more women happier if I'm not happy myself? So I am extremely satisfied with where spirituality led me. I am extremely satisfied with the way I'm living my life, the priorities that I have for my life. I am extremely satisfied with the change that I made in my career. It was not easy. I will never tell you, yeah, it was super easy. You just quit your job and that's it. No, I was so scared. It was the biggest fear I have ever had in my entire life. Yet I did it. I was so courageous, and I am so proud of myself for being so courageous and going after what I really, really wanted. On top of that, I built a fantastic business that is changing women's lives, that is really inspiring people to be fully themselves, to fully align with their purpose, with their abundance, with who they really came here to be on earth and how they want to live their lives. On top of that, I have a fantastic relationship with a fantastic man who absolutely adores me, and I absolutely adore him. And we moved together. We have this apartment together now, and we're going to start a family at some point soon. And I just feel like everything, everywhere that I look in my life, in every area of my life, there are so many reasons to be grateful. So many reasons to be grateful. So regardless of this like analysis of where I wanted to be and where I am right now I feel extremely, extremely happy. And when I was one of my theses that I did, so I did two theses, but the thesis that I did for my master's when I studied here in Paris, when I was 23, 24, was about happiness. And happiness, when you study happiness from an academic perspective, it's not called happiness. It's called subjective well-being, because it is subjective. You decide what is important for you, and you decide how you are going to appreciate what you have or what you don't have, which kind of meaning you build around that, and then you define, am I happy, am I not happy? So it's called subjective well-being because it is extremely, extremely subjective. But with that subjectivity, there were moments in my life in which I couldn't say I am extremely happy. When I turned 30, for example, I couldn't say I'm extremely happy. When I turned 30, first of all, it was COVID. I had just moved to a new country. I was alone. There was no Amore, there was no Fabrice. And my birthday was a very small group of friends. We went for dinner. We had some drinks, which was very nice. I love this group of friends. It was really nice, but I was all alone. I didn't have a partner. I didn't have my doggy Amore. I had just moved to a new country. We had just been through lockdown. I was in a job, starting a new job. It was fine, but that was it. I was super stressed because of COVID and because of this job. So I wasn't fully happy when I turned 30. So now that I'm turning 35, I'm like, wow, like I really, really I think I really needed these 5 years and everything that happened in the last 5 years. I met the love of my life. I got my doggy, More, moved to Paris again. I got engaged. I left my corporate career to set up my own business. I've built a fantastic business that is changing people's lives. I love absolutely every day of my working life. And I'm extremely healthy. I really value health because if we don't have health, we actually don't have anything. I am very healthy. The people that I love are healthy. Unfortunately, I lost my dad in the meantime, but then my mom is healthy. My brother and my sister are healthy. Everybody in my partner's family is healthy. So everyone that is alive is healthy. So many reasons to be grateful for. So what I do think is that by setting objectives for the long run, sooner or later, we always get what we want. In the end, we always get what we want. It may not be exactly when you want it. It may not be exactly how you thought it would happen, because the universe sometimes has other plans for you first, but you always get what you want in the end. And that has been my experience over and over again, setting goals, setting objectives, setting manifestations that I want. And then sooner or later, they always come to life. So I would take this week to celebrate my birthday with you, to really be with you in your presence and share this perspective, share how I'm feeling, share with you that I feel extremely happy, extremely blessed, extremely lucky, and that I cannot wait for another 35 years on Earth and to see what that is going to bring. I'm sure that's going to be very interesting as well. So thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Thank you so much for all of your messages that I've received on Instagram. Thank you so much for all of your kind words. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and it's made me really happy to get your messages. So thank you so much for being here, celebrating with me this week. I will see you on the next episode. And in the meantime, in Blisstopia we trust.